The rain had been falling since dawn, painting the countryside in a grey haze. Emily's hands tightened on the steering wheel as the road narrowed into a winding path lined with crooked trees. Her brother Daniel, seated beside her, stared at the fog rolling in from the hills, his expression tense. They were headed toward Hollow's End, a village their grandmother had always warned them about. She spoke of whispers in the woods, of shadows that lingered longer than light, and of a curse that marked every stone of the settlement. But Emily, chasing answers about their family's past, refused to turn back. Daniel, reluctant but bound by loyalty, followed. The first sign of the village appeared at the crest of a hill, an iron gate standing ajar, its hinges rusted but still, holding the weight of carved symbols that had been half erased by weather. Emily stopped the car. The silence was unnatural. No wind, no birdsong. The world felt held in breathless suspense. "Do you feel that?" Daniel whispered. His breath fogged against the cold glass. Emily nodded. Her chest tightened with unease, but determination outweighed fear. "We have to keep going." As the car rolled forward, the village emerged. Hollow's End was a maze of leaning cottages with sagging roofs, their windows boarded or shattered. Blackened lanterns hung along the cobblestone streets, though no fire had burned in them for decades. An ancient church rose in the distance, its steeple split in half as if struck by divine wrath. They parked in the square, where a fountain stood dry and cracked. At its center was a statue of a woman draped in stone robes. Her face had been defaced, gouged until only hollow sockets stared outward. The air carried a stench mold, damp wood, and something coppery. Daniel covered his mouth. "This place is dead." Emily stepped out, her boots crunching against gravel. She was drawn toward the church, as though something pulled at her bones. Her grandmother's journal had mentioned it. The church is where the truth hides. As they crossed the square, a sound broke the stillness. At first it was faint, like the dragging of cloth across stone. Then, a low murmur swelled, carried by the mist. Words in no language they knew circled them, growing louder until the walls themselves seemed to whisper. "Emily," Daniel's voice cracked. "We shouldn't be here." But she pressed on, clutching the journal to her chest. The whispers grew sharper, threading into her skull. She felt watched from every shadow, from the cracks of boarded windows, from the hollow sockets of the statue behind them. At the church doors, Emily paused. Carved into the wood was a Cymbeline inverted tree, its roots stretching upward, its branches clawing down. She traced it with trembling fingers. The wood was warm. Daniel pulled her hand back. "This is wrong." Before she could answer, the doors groaned open. The church interior lay in darkness, the air heavy with the scent of rot. Yet at the far end, where the altar once stood, a faint glow pulsed like a dying heartbeat. Emily's fear tangled with fascination. She stepped inside, Daniel at her side. The doors slammed shut behind them with a thunderous finality. In the silence that followed, the whispers returned closer, sharper. And then, from the shadows between the pews, something moved. A figure emerged, cloaked in rags, its head bent at an unnatural angle, skin pale as candle wax clung to bones, and its fingers dragged across the floor, leaving dark streaks. When it raised its head, Emily saw no eyes, only black pits weeping tar. The figure's voice was not one, but many, layered and discordant. "You should not have come to Hollow's End." The doors had slammed shut with such force that dust rained from the rafters. Emily and Daniel stood frozen in the gloom of the church, the cloaked figure before them swaying like a pendulum. The stench of rot pressed against their lungs, and the whispers wove tighter, as though circling prey. Emily's grip on her grandmother's journal nearly tore the leather. She forced her voice steady. "Who are you?" The figure tilted its head, joints cracking. Its voice came in layers, each echoing from a different depth. "We are the silence. We are the dead ode. We are Hollow's End." Daniel tugged Emily's sleeve. "We need to leave." But when he tried the doors, they refused to move. He shoved with his shoulder until the wood groaned. but it was as if the church had swallowed them whole. The figure stepped closer. Every movement left streaks of black tar on the stone floor. Where it dripped, the ground hissed. Daniel recoiled, dragging Emily back. She opened the journal, flipping to the marked page. The scrawled handwriting trembled as if written in panic. The Alice guard the altar. Their hunger never ends. Do not look into the pits. Her eyes darted upward. The figure's sockets, those black, weeping hollows, were fixed on her. The longer she looked, the more she felt pulled, as if her mind was being dragged into bottomless chasms. Her body locked in place, trembling. Daniel slapped the journal shut, breaking her trance. "Don't look," he shouted, his voice echoing through the cavernous space. The creature screeched. The sound was not human, nor animal, but something deeper, like the grinding of stone against bone. Shadows stirred in the pews, rising like smoke. More figures emerged, 5, then 6, each bent and faceless, all dripping tar from Alice hollows. Emily grabbed Daniel's arm, pulling him toward the altar. The glow at its base flickered brighter, defying the shadows. The figures shrieked, recoiling, though their limbs twisted toward the siblings in jerks and spasms. The altar was nothing but a cracked slab, carved with the same inverted tree symbol. Beneath it, the glow pulsed from a fissure in the floor. He rose from it, carrying a metallic tang of blood. Emily knelt, tracing the carvings. "This is what grandmother meant. The curse starts here." Daniel, wide-eyed, glanced back. The creatures were closing in, their fingers clawing the air. He spotted a rusted iron candelabrum near the altar. Grabbing it, he swung with desperate force. Metal struck bone with a crack, sending one figure sprawling, but the others pressed closer, undeterred. Emily's fingers found an inscription hidden under grime. She whispered the words aloud, syllables that burned her tongue. The fissure glowed brighter, the air trembling. The creatures shrieked in unison, staggering back, but their voices layered into something intelligible, a chant that crawled under Emily's skin. The tree must never wake. The glow fled, casting the church in crimson. For a heartbeat, Emily saw Vision's villagers tied to the inverted tree, their eyes gouge, their bodies hung upside down. The roots drank their blood, and the earth trembled with hunger. She staggered back, clutching her head. Daniel pulled her to her feet. "What did you see?" Before she could answer, the fissure roared, splitting wider. Heat blasted upward, nearly knocking them off balance. From the crack, a hand emerged then, grey, clawed, gripping the altar with crushing force. Emily's scream echoed through hollows, and as the altar shattered, and something far older than the Alice once began to climb free. The altar shattered into fragments, the fissure beneath widening into a gaping wound. The clawed hand dragged a monstrous shape upward and emaciated, body coated in ash-gray skin, its ribs protruding like spears. Chains dangled from its limbs, broken but still clinking as if they remembered restraint. Emily and Daniel staggered back as the creature rose, towering above them. Its face was a hollow mask. No mouth, no nose, only a wide cavity where its eyes should have been. From those pits, black smoke poured, twisting into symbols in the air before dissolving. The Alice congregation fell to their knees. Their discordant whispers merged into one chant, "The root awakens." Daniel raised the candelabrum, but the thing swatted it aside effortlessly. The iron clanged across the floor, bent and useless. The heat from the fissure seared his skin, forcing him back. Emily, clutching the journal, shouted the only words that came to her. "We are not part of this." The creature's head snapped toward her, its hollow face opened not with a mouth, but with a vertical split from brow to chest. Inside was nothing but darkness, endless and writhing. From it, the screams of countless voices poured. The sound of agony layered upon itself. Emily fell to her knees, hands pressed to her ears. Visions invaded her, villagers tied upside down to the inverted tree, their blood draining into the soil. Children buried alive beneath the roots, generations sacrificed to feed whatever stirred below. Daniel yanked her arm, pulling her toward a side door behind the altar. They stumbled into a narrow corridor lit by flickering torches, the walls lined with murals of the tree. In every painting, the roots grew thicker, consuming the village, strangling its people. They reached a stairwell spiraling downward. Against all reason, Emily felt compelled to descend. Her grandmother's notes burned in her memory. The truth is buried beneath the church. Daniel blocked her path. No, we're leaving now. But the pounding footsteps of the creature above shook dust from the ceiling. The eyeless ones shrieked, the chant echoing through the church. Escape through the doors was impossible. The stairwell, however, promised either salvation or deeper damnation. Emily tore free of Daniel's grip and rushed downward. He cursed but followed, unwilling to abandon her. The descent was endless. The air grew hotter, the stones slick with condensation. At the bottom lay a cavern carved by human hands, filled with pillars of bone fused into the rock. The floor was an uneven mosaic of skulls, their mouths agape as though still screaming. At the cavern's center stood the inverted tree, no longer a symbol, but a towering abomination. Its roots spread across the chamber, pulsing like veins, its branches clawing downward. From its bark, phases pushed outward, trapped in eternal torment. Emily gasped. It's real. Daniel grabbed her wrist. We need to destroy it. Before she could reply, the ground trembled. Roots shifted, cracking skulls beneath them. The faces in the bark began to whisper, their voices blending into the same chant as the eyeless congregation above. The fissure widened, and the monstrous thing from the church dropped into the cavern, chains rattling. It bowed before the tree, smoke pouring from its hollow chest. The whispers surged into words that filled the chamber. The bloodline has returned. The sacrifice is here. Emily's heart froze. The journal slipped from her hands. Her grandmother hadn't warned them away. She had led them here. The cavern pulsed like a living heart, each beat shaking the skulls beneath Emily's boots. The inverted tree's faces writhed, whispering in 1,000 voices. The chained monster bowed lower, black smoke streaming from its hollow form, feeding the roots. Daniel pulled Emily back. We're not supposed to be here. We were brought here. Emily's thoughts raced. Her grandmother's warnings weren't to keep them away, they were instructions. The journal hadn't been a warning. It had been a guide. The bloodline has returned. Emily repeated the words, her voice trembling. They don't mean just anyone. They mean us. The tree's roots shifted, tearing free of the cavern floor. One coiled upward, striking like a serpent. Daniel shoved Emily aside, but the root wrapped his leg, lifting him into the air. He screamed, clawing at the bark that dug into his flesh. Emily hurled herself forward, grabbing her brother's arm. Let him go, she screamed at the tree. Faces along its trunk turned toward her, their mouths opening in unison. A voice surged from them, ancient and hollow. One must feed the root. One must awaken it. Daniel struggled, his face pale. Emily, don't listen. But Emily's eyes dropped to the journal lying at her feet. The final page had been torn out. In its place, scratched into the leather cover, was a single phrase, "The choice is always blood." Her stomach twisted. She realized her grandmother hadn't escaped the curse, she had delayed it, passing the burden to the next generation, to Emily. The root squeezed Daniel tighter. His breath came in ragged gasps. Emily's mind raced. She remembered the fisher's glow, the creature's bowing, the altar's carvings. Everything pointed to sacrifice. But if she gave in, Daniel would die. Desperate, she seized a shard of the shattered altar and slashed at the root. Black ichor sprayed, burning her skin. But the root recoiled. Daniel fell to the ground, gasping. The monster roared, chains rapping. It rose to its full height, towering over them, its hollow chest splitting wider. Smoke surged toward Emily, pressing against her lungs, filling her veins with fire. Vision seared her mind, her grandmother kneeling before the tree, offering a child's cradle into the roots. The cries of an infant swallowed by bark. Emily screamed, shoving the visions away. She grabbed Daniel and pulled him toward a side passage at the cavern's edge. Roots lashed at them, smashing skulls to dust. But they dove into the tunnel, crawling through narrow stone. Behind them, the tree's voice thundered. The bloodline cannot flee. They emerged into another chamber, smaller, lined with ritual tools, rusted knives, bowls caked with dried blood, torn robes. At its center stood a pedestal, and on it, a stone tablet. Carved deep into its surface was the inverted tree, and below it, words in English: "Break the root, break the curse." Daniel coughed, blood on his lips. How? Emily traced the carving, her hands trembling. She didn't know, but the walls shuddered as the monster's footsteps drew closer. They had little time, and then she noticed beneath the inscription, faint symbols circled the tree, like a seal. The shape was incomplete, missing its center. Her gaze fell on her own palm, cut from the ichor burn. Blood dripped onto the stone. The symbols glowed faintly, completing the seal. Daniel's eyes widened. No. It wants you. It always wanted you. Emily's heart pounded. The curse wasn't about random sacrifice. It demanded her. The stone tablet pulsed under Emily's blood, its carvings glowing brighter with each drop. The inverted tree above groaned, its roots thrashing as if resisting. The chained monster bellowed, its smoke pouring across the chamber, trying to choke out the light. Daniel staggered forward, his body trembling from the root's earlier grip. "Emily, stop, it's killing you." She shook her head, pressing her palm hard onto the seal. The glow seared her skin, veins lighting up like fire beneath her flesh. "This is the only way." The faces on the tree twisted, their mouths widening in agony. The cavern walls shuddered, pebbles raining from above. The seal's glow spread outward, tracing ancient runes across the floor. The skulls embedded in the ground cracked, releasing sighs of air like dying breaths. The monster lunged, its chain snapping taut. It reached for Emily, its hollow chest splitting wider. But Daniel hurled himself between them. He snatched a ritual blade from the floor and drove it deep into the creature's torso. Black ichor gushed, sizzling against his skin. But the monster didn't fall. It grabbed Daniel, lifting him into the air. Smoke poured into his mouth and eyes, forcing its way inside. "Daniel," Emily screamed, her voice breaking. For a heartbeat, his gaze cleared. He forced the blade deeper, coughing blood. "Finish it. Don't let me be for nothing." The seal's glow blazed, blinding in its intensity. Emily screamed, her blood spilling freely. The symbols devoured it. The ground split as roots tore upward, thrashing in agony. The tree's bark split, revealing a core of writhing flesh and screaming faces. The monster hurled Daniel aside like a ragdoll. His body hit the stones with a sickening crack. Emily's vision blurred, but she forced her hand against the tablet, whispering the words engraved there. The cavern erupted with light. The roots writhed, tearing themselves apart. Faces burst from the bark, dissolving into ash. The monster shrieked, its body fracturing as the chains that bound it pulled tight, dragging it backward into the fissure. But the light also tore through Emily. Her blood streamed across the floor, veins burning as if consumed by fire. She felt herself unraveling, each heartbeat pulling her deeper into the seal. Daniel crawled toward her, his body broken. "No, Emily, don't." She turned her head, tears streaking her face. "There's no other way. I'm the bloodline. I'm the price." Her hand pressed flat against the seal. The final rune ignited. The inverted tree screamed. The monster shattered into ash. The fissure slammed shut with a thunderous roar. Silence followed her silence, so complete it felt unnatural. Emily collapsed onto the tablet, her blood soaking into the stone. Her chest rose once, then fell still. Daniel dragged himself to her side, shaking, sobbing. The cavern was crumbling, but he clung to her lifeless body. "You can't leave me," he whispered. The village above was silent. The rain had stopped, but fog still curled through the crooked streets, seeping into every crack. From the church, no whispers came. From the square, no shadows stirred. Hollow's End lay still, as if the curse had finally lifted. Daniel staggered from the ruins of the church, his body battered, his soul hollowed. His arms carried Emily's lifeless form, wrapped in his torn jacket. He stumbled past the faceless statue, past the shattered cottages, his every step echoing in the emptiness. The villagers' eyes were gone. The tree was ash. The monster chained once more in darkness. The curse had been broken, but Emily's sacrifice weighed heavier than the silence. He reached the iron gate where they had first entered. The hinges creaked as he pushed it open. For a moment, he dared to hope. The air smelled cleaner, the fog thinner. Perhaps the outside world had been untouched. But as he crossed the threshold, the ground trembled. Behind him, Hollow's End groaned. The cottages shifted, their wood creaking like bones. Windows opened where none had been, each one filled with hollow sockets that stared outward. Daniel froze. The whispers returned, faint but undeniable, curling through the fog like smoke. They weren't coming from the church or the tree. They came from the soil, from the stones, from the very air. He looked down at Emily's face. Her lips were pale, her skin cold, yet her veins still glowed faintly with the seal's light, pulsing once, then again. His heart clenched. "No, you can't." The whispers grew louder. The ground split, tiny fissures snaking through the cobblestones. From them, roots sprouted thin, black, writhing. They spread across the square, crawling toward the fountain, toward the statue. The faceless woman cracked. Her stone mouth split into a scream. Daniel stumbled back, clutching Emily tighter. The journal slipped from his pocket, falling open on the ground. Its final page was blank, save for fresh letters etching themselves into the paper. The root never dies. The bloodline never ends. His breath caught. He realized too late the curse hadn't been broken. It had been fed. Emily's blood had not destroyed the tree. It had planted it anew. The fog thickened, swallowing the village. The whispers turned into laughter, hollow and endless. Daniel fell to his knees, his scream lost in the mist. And somewhere deep beneath Hollow's End, a seed pulsed alive, waiting, hungry.